This video is going to demonstrate how to do some of the advanced coding required to get an A+ on the Hello project. So as you can see, I've customized this yet a little bit more. From the last time, you'll see that I added image Diego and this picture box, image Julian. I made them both visible false, so they reappear when you click on the code, when you click on the change properties button. So when you go through, visible, false. So they're both invisible. So when I press play, you can see you don't see them. Click here, Hello Visual Basic Programmer, change properties. They both appear along with a plethora of other changes. Now to guide me along, I have my little checklist here. Examples for advanced coding. So I'm going to go through these checks. One property that's kind of cool to play with is change opacity. It's a property, doesn't require coding, but you make your form somewhat transparent. So it's a property, O for opacity. See, it's set at 100%. Well, if you mess around with it, let's say 60, when you press play, you see through it. Again, you make it somewhat transparent. 100 is completely opaque. 0, completely invisible because you see right through it. So 60 is a little too much, but that might be something you want to play with. It's out there for you. I'll set it back to 80. Now the changes that I've made, these are what I call the basic changes. So if you look through there, I've changed back color of some objects, fore color, left property, top property, height property, text property, width property, enabled, and there's the images, visible, visible, true. Now what am I doing with the enabled property? I am making buttons disabled. So if you look up here, after you type Hello Visual Basic Programmer, I added these two lines. I made the gray button enabled true. I made the change button enabled false. Actually, I meant to make that false. I'm turning it off. So look what happens. This property is enabled. This button, enabled true. My other buttons, although they're there, I changed the property to be disabled, enabled false. Same with this one, it's enabled false. So when I press play, there's only one button you can click on. These are there, but they're disabled, letting the user know they cannot click on them. So when I click on this red button, Hello Visual Basic Programmer appears. I made this one enabled, and I disabled this one. You can't click it again. So I disabled this button, I enabled this button. Then when I press this one, I made this button enabled, and these two are disabled. So again, I'm guiding them. I'm telling them which buttons they have to click. So up here, I added a few lines. Again, the red button is disabled, the gray button is enabled, and then here, after all the changes, the quit button is enabled, but the gray button is disabled. Again, guiding them. But these are the basic changes. So I talked about opacity. Check. Now, what can we do? Advanced changes. You can take any object and change the cursor. It's quite simple. Type the name of the object, .cursor equals, and whatever one comes to mind. And it guides you. Cursor equals, you see? And since this is the quit button, the end button, I picked hand. Click here. Notice I go over that. It's still the white arrow, but once I click this, then when I go hover over it, now it's the hand. I can change fonts. So if you look at this change button, which is my gray one, I'm taking care of 3 of those check marks. you type the name of your object, dot, font, then these two words, new font, then parentheses, in quotes, the name of the font that you're changing it to. I'm picking the Gabriola font. So you have to go look through. You want to go through and look at their names. You have to spell it exactly as you see it in the dialog box. Gabriola with a capital G. In quotes, comma, the size, so I made it a little bit bigger, 18, dot, and different font styles. I pick bold. So here's your font, font size, font style. And that all occurs. Again, look at this button. You can barely see it, but I changed the font to Gabriola, and it's a bit bigger, and it's bold. So going through here, I just spoke about the cursor, the font, font size, font style. Now look at the last two. How to load another image, a background image, and how to change icon. And notice I say here, these pictures that you're going to load must be in the bin folder. I'll explain that in a minute. So what is my background image? I have this leprechaun. It's not a picture box. It's right here, background image. I loaded it and I made the layout stretch so you can see all of it. I want to put something else in the background, but I downloaded it from the internet, the Shamrock, if you recall. So it's leprechaun. There, now you see a Shamrock. So how did I actually switch a picture and replace it with another one? When you download it, you have to put it somewhere special. And this is where you got to pay particular attention. View, go to your start page, right-click, open containing folder, the bin right there. See, everything I download and I'm going to load, I put it in here. Here's some other icons I tried. Here's that Notre Dame Shamrock, that wallpaper. I replaced the leprechaun with the Shamrock. And I got this 4-leaf clover that I'm going to replace my icon. So that's an icon. I put them in the bin folder so that I can tell the computer where to go. This whole directory path, it has to know it. So, but I'm not about to type all of this. I'd rather the computer do this for me. I just have to know the name of the file. So if you check out my coding, me is the name of the form, background image is the property, this is the computer code to load another picture. System.drawing.image.from file, and then in parentheses, quote, dot, 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 backslash, ndshamrock.jpg, end quote, parentheses. That's the name of the file that's going to replace it. You got to make sure you have your extension .jpg. But the dot, 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 that just says look in the bin folder with a backslash. So as long as you do that, you don't have to type the rest of the path name. Same with the icon. Me.icon equals new icon, and quote, dot, 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 backslash, and then the name of the icon you want to replace it with. And I put this St. Patty's Day Shamrock Lucky ICO. So I'm actually loading two pictures in place of another one. Let me change this transparency so we can actually see it. Put it back to 100. I press play. Notice you have ND icon, the leprechaun. Go through here. Replaced it. I loaded the Shamrock and I changed that icon. So those are the advanced features that I expect you to do if you want to get an A+. So just as it says there, advanced changes to get an A+. If you look here, change background image, make sure that image that you're going to replace it with is in the bin folder, and change the icon. Make sure the icon you're going to replace it with is in the bin folder. As long as you have these changes as part of your 20, you will get an A+. Good luck.